The desert was dark and silent as 5 figures moved under the stars like shadows, with no names and no past. They were called Shadow Unit, and tonight they had one goal: to stop a man known only as the Warlord before he vanished into the mountains forever. Each soldier in the team had trained for years for this moment, and each one had survived missions that others had failed. The leader was Captain Ray, calm and quiet with eyes that had seen too much. Beside him walked Vega, the tech expert, with a drone on his back and nerves of steel. Then came Boomer, the heavy weapons guy, always joking, but deadly when things went wrong. Next was Angel, the medic, who never left a man behind no matter the risk. And last came Ghost 7, the quiet one, the ghost in the group, who never spoke unless it mattered. They had landed 1 hour ago in a small black chopper that disappeared as quickly as it came. Now they were moving through rocky hills toward a signal they had tracked for weeks. The Warlord was staying in a compound hidden in a narrow valley guarded by fighters and drones and steel gates. Shadow Unit had to get in fast, grab the target, and get out before sunrise. As they reached the first ridge, Vega sent up his drone and watched the screen with careful eyes. "Clear path," he said, soft as wind, then paused. "Wait, something's off." Before anyone could ask what he meant, the ground under them shook. An explosion ripped through the night, sending dust and fire into the sky. Boomer fell back, yelling that they hit a minefield. "We walked into a trap." Captain Ray shouted for cover as bullets rained from the hills. They had no time to run and no place to hide. Vega tried to jam the enemy signals, but another blast hit nearby and knocked him down. Angel pulled him behind a rock and checked his pulse, still alive, but bleeding bad. Boomer returned fire, screaming at the shadows on the ridge, while Captain Ray called for backup on the radio. No answer, just static. Then came the voice from the earpiece, cold and sharp. "Mission compromised. All teams retreat, repeat, retreat." But they could not move. The valley was a death box, and they were already deep inside. Captain Ray gave new orders: hold position, protect the injured, and find a way out. Ghost 7 had vanished during the chaos. No one saw him go, no one heard a word. Minutes passed like hours as bullets flew and smoke filled the air. Angel was down, trying to stop Vega's bleeding. Boomer was out of ammo and breathing heavy. Captain Ray crawled to a high point to get eyes on the enemy, but what he saw made his heart sink. More fighters were coming, dozens, maybe more, and they had trucks with mounted guns. This mission was over. They were not getting out alive. He clicked his comm once, twice, 3 times, the silent signal they all knew. "If you hear this, get out if you can." Only static answered. One by one the team was hit. Vega was gone, then Angel, then Boomer. Captain Ray stayed until the last moment, calling for Ghost 7 again and again. No response, no signal, no trace. He made one final call to command, his voice low and full of dust. "Team is gone. Mission failed. Target unknown. I repeat, mission failed." They told him to hold if he could, but the evac bird was already turning back. Too dangerous, too late. Captain Ray took cover in a cave near the ridge, watching the stars fade as dawn began to rise. He had lost his team, lost the mission, and lost hope. Somewhere far above the command room went quiet as his signal faded. The screen showed nothing but red markers and silence. The general turned to his staff and spoke the words no one wanted to hear. "Shadow Unit is gone. All 5 presumed dead. Mission is over." But then something strange happened. Just before they shut down the feed, a small green light blinked on the edge of the screen. An open channel, a live signal from deep in the valley. The room froze as a voice came through the speakers, clear and calm. "This is Ghost 7. I have eyes on the target." Nothing else, just that one line. No one could speak, no one could move. The general leaned forward and stared at the screen, then at the blinking light. "Replay that," he said, his voice tight with shock. The tech rewound the tape and played the message again. "This is Ghost 7. I have eyes on the target." They thought he was dead. They thought the mission was lost. But now a new question burned in everyone's mind. How did he survive, and what was he planning to do next? The command room was still and silent as the voice echoed again from the speakers. "This is Ghost 7. I have eyes on the target." No one moved, no one spoke. They all stared at the blinking light on the screen, as if it might vanish any second. The general leaned in closer and asked, "Is that live or is it playback?" The tech team scrambled to check and confirm the signal. "Yes, sir, it's live. He's out there right now, still in the valley." But how the question hung in the air, heavy and strange. The valley was full of enemy fighters, drones, and landmines. The whole unit was gone, and the mission had failed. But now Ghost 7 was alive and watching the target. The general gave one order: keep the line open, do not lose that signal. Across the room people whispered his name. Not many knew him, and even fewer had ever seen his face. Ghost 7 was a mystery even to his own team. He had no real file, no background, no past. His face was always hidden under a helmet, his voice was rarely heard, and his words were always few and direct. He joined Shadow Unit 5 years ago, without fanfare, just showed up one day and never left. Some said he came from deep intelligence, black ops, the kind that never show up on paper. Others believed he was a ghost for real, someone who had died before and returned to finish something. But one thing was clear: Ghost 7 never failed a mission and never left a teammate behind. And now he was the only one left. Back in the valley, Ghost 7 crouched low behind a crumbling wall, his body still and silent like the night around him. He had watched the chaos from the shadows. He had seen the explosions, the ambush, the fall of his team. He wanted to break radio silence, but the risk was too high. They would have tracked the signal and finished what they started. So he waited and watched. The target was still inside the compound, guarded by men with rifles and eyes that never rested. But Ghost 7 had been trained for this exact thing, to survive alone and complete the mission no matter the cost. He moved like a shadow, silent through rubble and sand, using every broken wall and every patch of darkness. He did not speak, he did not rest. He only moved forward one step at a time. In his mind, he heard their voices: Ray giving calm orders, Boomer laughing, Vega asking for signal, Angel whispering a prayer. They were gone, but their mission was not. At command, they watched his signal hop across the map, slow but steady. He was heading toward the compound from a side. They did not expect a path full of danger, but maybe the only way in. The general asked the room, "Can we send help? Can we get a drone or eyes in the sky?" "Negative, sir. All units are pulled back. No safe route into the valley. Too hot, too exposed." "Then all we can do is watch and wait." Ghost 7 reached a ridge where he could see the compound gate. 2 guards stood in front, alert and armed. He tapped his belt and pulled out a small mirror, flashing a signal into the night sky. 3 short blinks, 1 long one. It was a message only one person would understand. His brother had taught it to him when they were kids. His brother, who now lay somewhere in the valley with the rest of the team. This was for him. This was for all of them. He crawled down the ridge, staying low, his breath steady, his hands firm on the grip of his rifle. In his earpiece came the soft static of the open line he had left back to command. They could hear him, but he would not speak, not yet. At command, the tech whispered, "Sir, he's near the gate, less than 50 meters." The general asked, "What is he waiting for?" No one knew. Then the guards moved. One went inside, the other lit a cigarette and turned away just for a second. That was all he needed. Ghost 7 rose from the shadows, one smooth motion, and the guard never saw him coming. Silent, fast, clean, he pulled the body into the dark and took the uniform, slipping into it like a second skin. Now he was inside the enemy circle, walking with steady steps, heart calm, mind clear. In the command room, people leaned closer, holding their breath, watching the blinking light move deeper into the compound. Someone asked, "What's the plan now? What is he trying to do?" The general answered with only one word: finish. Ghost 7 passed cameras, doors, checkpoints, and finally reached a metal gate marked restricted. He placed a small device on the lock, waited for the green flash, and slipped inside. There, behind glass and wires, was the warlord sitting at a desk, smiling, talking on a phone, without a care in the world. Ghost 7 watched him for a moment, then raised the camera on his shoulder and turned it on. The screen at command came to life, showing the warlord in real time, sitting unaware. Then the voice came once again, clear and sharp. "This is Ghost 7. I have eyes on the target." The compound was quiet inside, but Ghost 7 knew the silence was not safety. It was a trap waiting to close. He stood in the hallway, wearing the enemy uniform, walking slowly, head down, just another guard to anyone watching the cameras. But his eyes were sharp, moving fast from door to door, looking for a path that would take him closer to the warlord. The man had caused pain in many countries, he had stolen lives, destroyed towns, and now planned to disappear forever. Shadow Unit had been sent to stop him, but now only one remained and Ghost 7 was not going to fail. Back at command, the general leaned over the screen, watching the live feed from Ghost 7's camera. He asked, "Is that really the warlord in the room?" No one answered at first, then a young tech confirmed, "Yes, sir, that's him, face match confirmed." "Then why doesn't he move? Why doesn't he take the shot?" the general asked again. The room stayed quiet as the signal stayed steady, and the warlord sat smiling on the screen, unaware of the eyes watching him. Ghost 7 was thinking not with panic, but with calm focus, like always. He knew this man had more than guards, he had systems, he had traps, and if one alarm went off, the whole mission would fall apart. He needed a clean exit, or at least enough time to finish the job and vanish before they closed in. He moved past the warlord's office and turned a corner, entering a dark stairwell, with no lights, no cameras, no noise. There he stopped and opened a small pouch on his belt. Inside were photos of his team, each face clear, each name written by hand. He looked at them one by one: Ray Vega, Boomer, Angel, his brothers and sister in war, all lost in the valley. He placed the photos against the wall and whispered soft words that only the walls could hear. Then he pulled out a second device shaped like a pen and twisted the top. A red light blinked once. A signal, short and silent, sent to the sky. The message said, "This mission is not over." In the command room, a second alert popped on the screen: "Message received from field agent, code red, operation is active." The general stood and told the room, "Ghost 7 has a plan. We hold our position and give him time." Inside the compound, Ghost 7 climbed the stairs and came to a locked door with wires and codes flashing on a small screen. He pulled out a tablet from his bag and connected it to the panel, fingers moving fast across the screen, lines of code dancing like wind. 30 seconds later, the lock clicked and the door slid open. Inside was a control room full of screens and blinking lights, showing camera views of every corner of the building. 2 guards were inside, both looking at monitors, not expecting anything, not ready for what came next. Ghost 7 stepped in and used a stun dart on the first before he even looked up, then hit the second with a shock baton before he reached for his weapon. Both fell to the ground, quiet and still. He moved fast, shutting down the camera systems and locking the warlord's office door from the main control board. Now the target was sealed inside, alone, unaware and unprotected. Back at command, the general asked, "How long does he have before someone notices?" The tech replied, "Maybe 5 minutes, no more. After that, the whole compound will go into alert mode." Ghost 7 knew that too, and he was already moving back down the hallway, weapons ready, breath steady, heart cold. As he reached the office door, he paused for one last second, listening to the voice of the warlord still speaking on the phone inside. Then he opened the door and stepped in, silent like a shadow. The warlord looked up, surprised, confused, but not afraid, not yet. He asked, "Who are you?" Ghost 7 said nothing. He walked forward slowly, step by step, until the warlord reached for a button under the desk. Too late. Ghost 7 moved fast, disarmed him, and knocked him to the floor, holding him still with one arm, while the other reached into his pouch. He pulled out a tracker and placed it on the warlord's belt, then opened his comm line to command. "Tag is on target, prepared drone pickup in 5 minutes, location marked." Command confirmed with a single word, "Copy." The warlord shouted, "You can't do this. They will come for me. They will burn everything you know." Ghost 7 looked at him with eyes like ice and said, "This is for my team." Then he placed a small speaker on the floor, set to play the warlord's voice on loop, and walked out, locking the door behind him. The voice continued to echo inside the room, while Ghost 7 vanished down the hall, heading toward the escape route he had prepared. Back at command, the blinking signal showed him moving again, away from the target, fast and steady like a ghost in the night. The general said nothing, just watched as the mission, once thought dead, began to breathe again. And the name Ghost 7 was spoken in every corner of the room, not with fear, but with something else. Hope. The command room was silent except for the sound of Ghost 7's voice over the feed. "Tag is on target, prepared drone pickup in 5 minutes, location marked." The team at the base jumped into action maps, opened coordinates, where locked drones were launched from the nearest outpost flying low and fast through enemy airspace. But deep down the general was not calm. He had seen too many missions fall apart in the final minutes, and this one had already lost too much. He turned to the screen, watching the signal move quickly through the compound. Ghost 7 was leaving no trace behind, silent and invisible as always. Meanwhile, inside the compound, the warlord was trapped, locked in his office, shouting threats into the air, his voice caught on loop by the speaker Ghost 7 had left behind. Outside, guards began to notice that something was wrong. No voices on the radio, no camera feed, no orders from above. They started to search, checking halls, rooms, stairways, but found nothing, just cold silence and empty corridors. Then one guard found the control room door open, wires cut, guards on the floor. His voice echoed down the hallway, intruder, alert, intruder, alert. The alarm finally triggered, red lights flashing, loud sirens howling through the building. But Ghost 7 was already gone. He slipped through a side tunnel used for deliveries, climbed through narrow shafts, and dropped silently into the lower yard where trucks were parked and engines still warm. He knew this path from the satellite maps. He had studied for weeks. Even before the mission began, he always planned for worst case. He moved between the trucks, avoiding searchlights and voices, staying low under shadows, where no one dared to look. Back at command, the drone camera showed the compound from above, guards running in all directions, chaos breaking out, and no sign of the warlord. The general spoke into the open line. "We have eyes in the sky. Confirm your position." Ghost 7 responded. But there was only static and silence. The signal blinked once, then vanished from the map. Everyone froze. One tech said, "Sir, he's gone." Signal lost, no trace. The general stared at the blank screen and clenched his fist. They all knew what it could mean. He made the call, "Pull the drones back. We are not risking more lives." The warlord is locked. The mission is good. Ghost 7 knew the risks. Silence filled the room, again heavy and sharp like glass. The team stood still, watching the last point where Ghost 7 had been. No one said the words, but they all thought the same thing. He did it, but he didn't make it out. 3 hours passed then night fell again. Still no signal, no movement, no message. Then, just as the room was about to shut down, a red light blinked on the screen. New transmission incoming, unknown source. The general stepped forward, eyes locked on the screen. "Play it now." The screen turned black, then showed the inside of a dark room, one single chair in the center, a man sitting, tied hands behind his back, eyes wide, mouth taped. It was the warlord, alive, silent, and defeated. Then the feed glitched, and a voice came through, deep, calm, clear. "This is Ghost 7, target secured, message ends." The screen went black again. No location, no face, no extra words. Just the message and the image. The general whispered, "It's him, he's alive." People in the room let out quiet gasps. Some smiled, some shook their heads in disbelief. But then a question broke the silence. Where did that message come from? The tech ran checks, scanned the code, traced the bounce pattern, and came back with a strange answer. It was sent through 6 different relays across 3 countries. The final signal hit a weather satellite and bounced back from international waters, meaning no one knows where he is. The general nodded. He doesn't want to be found, not now, maybe not ever. Later that night, as the base shut down, a single package arrived in the mail room. No label, no address, just a box wrapped in black tape. Inside was a photo, an old one of the entire Shadow unit standing together before the mission, smiling, tired, ready. On top of the photo was a single dog tag, cold metal, marked with the number 7. The general held the tag in his hand and said nothing. The meaning was clear. Ghost 7 was not coming back. But he had finished the mission. He had kept his promise. Somewhere far away, maybe on a boat, maybe in a mountain, maybe watching from the shadows, Ghost 7 was still out there. No one could reach him, no one could stop him. But everyone knew one thing. He had become something more than just a soldier, more than just a name. He had become a legend. And legends do not disappear. They wait. Months passed since the mission ended, but the name Ghost 7 never faded. It moved through whispers, radio waves, secret files, and old stories, like smoke through cracks in a wall. At first, people thought the message was fake. Some said it was an old recording sent by someone else to cover up the truth, but the general knew better. He had seen the eyes of the warlord in that video, and he had held the dog tag in his hand, cold and real and final. The warlord was taken days later, found tied to a chair inside an empty warehouse near a dock on the far edge of the coast. He was silent when captured, too scared to speak, and even now no one could explain how he ended up there without a single guard hearing a sound. There were no fingerprints, no tracks, no cameras, nothing but silence, and the same message burned into the wall in red paint. Mission complete, Ghost 7. After that, the stories began to grow not just in the base, but across cities and borders and battlefields. In a remote village near the border, soldiers spoke of a man in black who came during the night and disarmed a group of raiders. Without firing a shot, he tied them up, left a bag of supplies, and vanished into the hills. In a war zone far away, a group of rebel fighters swore that someone had hacked into the enemy drones, shut them down, and left a single image. On the screens, a number 7 drawn in white light. In a refugee camp, a boy claimed he saw a shadow outside his tent one night, then found food at the entrance the next morning, and a note written in simple words, "You are not forgotten." Back at the base, the general sat alone in his office, staring at the old photo of Shadow Unit taped to his wall. Each face told a story, each face was gone except one. Ghost 7. He picked up the dog tag again and turned it over. No message, no mark, just the number, nothing more. One young soldier knocked and entered with a file in hand. "Sir, we have another report, this one from the North Mountains. Same story, no proof, no name, just a feeling." The general opened the file. Inside was a single page with a drawing of a man standing on a ridge looking down at a convoy below, his face hidden by shadows, his stance calm and ready. At the bottom of the page, someone had written one word: Ghost. The general nodded and said nothing, but inside he knew this was not over, not yet. Some officers wanted to find him, to track him down, bring him back, or at least confirm he was alive. They sent out drone scouts, agents, but all returned empty-handed. No trail, no heat signal, no trace. It was like he had never existed at all. One day, a journalist called asking for an interview, said she was writing a story called "The Man Who Never Came Back." The general refused. He said, "If you want to write about him, just write the truth." And when she asked what that was, he said nothing and hung up the call. But deep down, he believed something more. Ghost 7 had become part of something bigger than orders and missions and medals. He had become an idea, a soldier who would not quit, a shadow that could not be caught, a voice that came when all hope was lost. And now that voice was out there somewhere, still watching, still waiting. In the city, street stories began to spread, told in coffee shops and bars and campsites. Some said he was a ghost, a real one walking the earth with no name and no home. Others said he was still working, taking down targets from the Dark One mission, at a time never asking for help, never leaving a mark. And a few believed he was gone, resting finally after finishing what he started. But one night at a secret base far from any city, a group of new recruits sat around a small table listening to an old soldier tell a story. He told them about a mission that went wrong, a team that never came back, and one man who stayed behind when everyone else had left. He ended the story with the same words every time. "The last thing we heard was, 'This is Ghost 7, I have eyes on the target.'" Then he stood up and walked away, leaving the room quiet and the fire low. One recruit looked at the others and asked, "Do you think he's still out there?" No one answered, but a breeze came through the open door, and the sound of something distant, almost like a voice, carried softly through the night. A whisper, not loud, not clear, but enough to make them sit still and listen. Somewhere in the shadows, the mission was not over. Not yet. Years passed, and the story of Ghost 7 never faded. It grew louder, like thunder rolling over mountains, never seen, but always heard. New missions came, and when teams were trained and deployed, old bases were shut down, and new ones rose in hidden places, but still his name remained. Ghost 7. Recruits heard the story on their first day. Some laughed and said it was just a myth told to scare or inspire, but others listened closely and never forgot the details. The failed mission, the missing soldier, the last message before the signal went dark. "This is Ghost 7, I have eyes on the target." At first it was just a line spoken in memory, but soon it became something more. When a team felt cornered, they would say it to each other for courage. When a mission went quiet, command would wait, hoping to hear it again. And in the shadows of every battle, the legend of Ghost 7 was always there, not seen, but always felt. One commander kept a special room in the base, a small dark room with one chair and one screen, where he played the final message once a year in silence. He said it reminded him of what soldiers were meant to be, not for glory, not for medals, but for something deeper, something invisible. One day a strange signal came through to an old radio tower that had not worked in years. The operator almost missed it, but caught a single phrase before it vanished. "This is Ghost 7. The fire is still burning." No location, no voice pattern, no repeat, just the words. The message was sent to command and placed in a locked file where only top officers could read it. The general read it twice, then looked out the window, where the sun was rising over a new group of soldiers marching in the field below. He closed the file and said one line to himself: not a ghost, not a myth, just a man who never gave up. Far away in the cold mountains, a traveler stopped at a small village asking for food and directions. He wore a coat with no patches, spoke little, and carried nothing but a quiet presence that made people lower their voices when he passed. He stayed one night, then left before sunrise, and in his room the villagers found a silver coin and a note. The world still needs shadows. In the city, someone hacked a security system that had never been breached before, shut down an illegal weapons trade, and vanished without a trace. The only clue left behind was a black card with the number 7 scratched on one side and nothing else. A team caught in a desert ambush saw their radios spark to life with a strange pulse, and the voice of a stranger guided them out through enemy lines, safe and silent. They asked who it was, but the voice said nothing more. Later in their report they wrote only one thing: we were not alone. And then one night, under a dark sky, a team returned from a failed mission, tired, bloody, silent. But as they walked back to base, they saw something strange on the wall outside the gate. A photo of their team taken before the mission, with all of them in it, including one person who was not there before. A man in the back, standing just behind them, face hidden but present, as if he had always been there. The commander looked at the photo in shock and turned to his men, but no one had seen anyone near the wall. No one had taken that photo, and the camera logs showed nothing. They searched the area, but found no tracks, no signs, no answers. Only the photo. And written on the bottom corner, in red ink, was one line: "I have eyes on the target." No one ever figured out who took the picture, or how it got there, but no one forgot it either. Because sometimes when the night is quiet and the mission feels lost, a signal crackles to life, and a voice speaks clear and calm. This is Ghost 7. And then silence. Not fear, not panic, just silence and purpose, and something stronger than orders or commands. A promise that no matter how dark the world becomes, someone is still watching, still fighting, still waiting. In the shadows, where legends never sleep.